Ladies and gentlemen, another Mound Visit coming at you here. We're excited. We're talking current events in Major League Baseball. Talk a little bit about the White Sox. We're going to talk buyers and sellers, Yankees woes, and of course, as always, our stupid statistic of the week. Got another Mound Visit, episode 60, brought to you by Sweet Hand Sports. Grilli will tell us a little bit about this, a rising name in batting gloves and golf gloves, hats. They've got just about everything. A local Pittsburgh product, too. Awesome stuff. And we're excited to partner up with them. You can use code MoundVisit10 to get 10% off your first purchase at sweethandsports.com. Grilli, I know you're excited about this, and we're excited to have them as a part of the show. And, you know, it's fitting. Baseball, Mound Visit, that's what we like, right?
And speaking of hands, your boy that's covering up, trying to cover anything up that you're not supposed to be using, maybe he needs a pair of the sweet hands, baby. Maybe he can get his 10%. Get his 10%. He's losing more than 10% of his paycheck right now. You'd like to have that back.
I know.
How dumb.
I am. Right.
You know what? I didn't have time today, as I promised you and our studio audience and all those people out there on the information highway surfing it with us. I didn't have time to go get some rosin, but I'm going to do a whole experiment where you might have to do. Maybe I'll do a, what do you call it? A lapse time. I don't know what it's going to take to get my hand black, but I'm going to show you. You can get it really black, really pasty, really sticky using two things. It's called water or sweat, which is, salty water that comes out of your body. I mean, if we have to explain chemistry to these umpires and to Major League Baseball, I don't know. We're in a whole different brand of baseball these days that I don't even know what's happening. But I tell you what, the most impressive thing I got that jumps out at me is what Aaron Judge is doing. I have to say that to me, the guy is on a different planet of his own. I mean, at the break, we're not even at the break yet, and his numbers are astonishing. Was he hitting like 325 with 32 and 87 or something like that?
Yeah,
pretty amazing.
It's absurd. It's absurd. Yeah, and we'll jump into that. Before we do that, we also do want to remind you, if you like the show, please subscribe on YouTube if you like to watch us, and if you like to listen, you can do that wherever you get your podcasts. We are a part of the Believe Podcast Network. Every team, every topic, everywhere. So we're excited.
We're so good, we got traded, and we got upgraded.
Right. That's right. Yeah, exactly.
That's what happens, right? We're almost at the All-Star break, so pre-mid-season deal, we were the first trade, or a new addition to an All-Star lineup over at Believe. Yeah, dude. And
it's funny? Perfect that. Go ahead, yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I was sitting in Columbus because my son had a tournament this past weekend, and we're sitting in this restaurant bar, Mexican place, and they had two games on. It was the Cincinnati Reds. We're in Ohio, so they have their two teams. They got the Guardians. The Guardians.
Careful.
The Guardians. Yeah, right. You don't want to offend anybody. I got a Cleveland Indians jersey back here, so lay off. All right. I never got to play for them. That was my injury year.
Ohio.
And
Mexican
Cincinnati
restaurant.
Reds. But Believe was having a show.
Oh.
Sam LeClure was on whatever show. I can't remember the name of his show. Red Hot or something. And he had Corky Miller on, and he was doing the show. Now, I didn't know, and up in the corner, it got me excited because the Believe logo. I'm like, oh, there's one of the teams on there. We're joining that squadron, so it's good to know that we're in good company, man.
Darn right, absolutely, and you always set me up with the perfect segues because speaking of great company, you mentioned Aaron Judge to kind of start out the show. And I think we can go right into our stupid statistic of the week. Which is everybody's favorite segment. And so
Flies are popping.
how about
over here.
this? Aaron Judge. Yeah, what are you throwing pop rocks down there? What's going on over there?
I'm taking out my zapper, dude. Like I told you, I got this fly problem.
That
man.
was the fly zapper.
That was a zapper. We killed him. Fly ball to center, and he gone.
Oh my
Over the
God.
wall. Yeah.
Wow. Well, anyways, our stupid statistic of the week. So how about this for Aaron Judge? Players with a 1,430 plus OPS in a 50-game span. This is since 1900. There are only four players including now, so five players, including Aaron Judge, who just did that this year. The other four names are Barry Bonds, Ted Williams, Lou Gehrig, and Babe Ruth. So
That's pretty
speaking
good
of good company, you know what I mean? It doesn't really get any better than that.
Listen, man, that man's decorating himself pretty damn good. He's a living legend, and we're watching greatness. It's cool to see because, you know, each generation has that player that you go, wow, I've never seen anything like this. And then you see, you know, people like myself, I've played against him. Tough out. He gave me a very tough at bat, and he then took me deep after I ran out.
You talking about Barry Bonds?
No, I struck him out unofficially. So that's a story I haven't told you yet. But the Judge took me deep.
Oh, Judge. Okay.
After fouling off, and I was like, all right, get yourself out. But instead of getting him out, he took it out. And I was like, I'm done. I'm done with this guy. I'm done. You can have it. You're good.
And the funny thing is, like, that was before he became this, like, otherworldly
So I got him
hitter.
started.
I mean, he was still good, obviously, but like
I got him started. I'm going to take credit that day. I got his confidence up that day.
I like that. No, but you mentioned it. His numbers are off the charts this year. I mean, 32 homers, 83 RBIs, hitting 321, like you mentioned. 440 on base.
But that was a regular, like back when I played it right before or late 90s. I know juiced era, call it whatever.
Sure.
That was the standard, and now we're watching double-A statistics, going like, how is this guy have a job? But I guess, you know, these people that are, you know, seasoned veterans and they're having an off year, they're going to go, well, you're DFA'd, or we're trading you, or I don't know, you don't hear about them anymore. They have one or two good years, they get the big contract, they're chilling, they don't care. If it's acceptable, see, that's the thing that I can say, that the people that I looked up to, the people that paved the path, you had to be like them. And if you didn't take pride in those numbers and the statistics and this and that, you didn't belong, right? You didn't. There's another
Sure.
belong. You didn't belong in the category to say. But now and this is where it starts, man. We go all the way back down to, I'm looking at my son's age group and these prospects. That it's all about, you know, look at the velocity. It was 112 off the bat and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So these kids are just like likes and social media. Like, yeah, look at all my likes and this. It's becoming a mental thing that if I don't hit the ball hard like this, whether I hit it over 105 miles an hour or 110 miles an hour, it doesn't matter. It's still a home run. It doesn't matter if I threw it 92 or 102. If I still get the guy out, it's still an effective pitch.
Right.
We've quantified these numbers to be more of mentally twisted and you know, what works, what constitutes the hard work. Because I think there's going to be more injuries because we're trying to placate to these numbers as opposed to longevity of what it takes to get people out, what it takes to be consistently good, you know, and that's where I go with all this technology that we've gotten, you know, so accustomed to.
Sure.
Now we're starting to see lesser than good things happening. It's almost like, if I don't know, things got easier, but I'm going, why am I watching guys in the big leagues hitting $172 still having a job, or a guy having an 80 ERA? Yeah, he's throwing 100 miles an hour right down the dick, and it's like you're getting it fucking waylaid fast over the center field fence.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you say. I wrestle back and forth with that whole, you know, with that issue, because I do agree that there was sort of, I mean, when numbers and analytics started to take over the game, there was a reason that happened, right? Like that, it wouldn't happen if they didn't work at face value. Like they do work, like with the shift, things like that. But then it becomes, well, what are we doing to the product on the field? And is it still a game that we can watch and get fans and new fans especially excited about? And I think, they realize that Major League Baseball, to their credit, realized that maybe not. But with all that being said, that stuff, like, it trickled down, like you said, to the lowest levels of baseball, amateur baseball. And I think it's still taking some time to sort of find a happy medium at those levels, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, well, the bridge to me, the collegiate level, coming off of looking at the College World Series and the quality of baseball that was played there, these college coaches, and that's a whole nother subject with NIL and portals and all this stuff. These teams are now not developing; they're just pick and replace, rip and replace, and just making teams because their job is to win. I get that, but I think that's where I said it's if the people are not putting up the numbers and they're not playing a kid, and the kid was going to say, "Well, shit, I'm going to transfer." You're messing with the development of. Even when you do bad, you develop when you have a bad season because I'm not having that season. I'm working hard, and we've lost sight of that. What it takes to mentally handle. Well, yeah, I had an off year. I know I'm consistent here, and you find the really good players can be good consistently, and they stay there. And the great ones, they're just freaks of nature and their talent, and they can't even explain it sometimes how they do it, what they do. You just have to follow and go, well, they're gifted. But, it's even to something that's funny, sidebar, but related, people are finding hacks of how to play this game. There's no more sliding into second base. Just keep running or run through the second base bag. It's almost like if you ever seen that? You haven't seen that?
No, what is this?
Oh, dude. So in order to instead of break up a double play, they're just having runners run straight through the bag or just take a hard right and not slide to try to screw up the I saw that on Instagram too, and I'm like, are they really doing this? I haven't seen it live in a game yet, but I'm seeing it,
I've definitely noticed the difference in like when you talk about breaking up double plays. Like obviously guys aren't really going in hard anymore. That doesn't happen obviously because of some of the rules and things like that. But yeah, I haven't seen that in a game yet either. No,
it screws up whoever's trying to turn the play, making errant throws. Yeah, so that was one thing I noticed. I'm like, is this really going on now? Like, there's always like a way to find a way to win.
Yeah.
And there's always that edge. And to bring up rewind, remember we talked about when the Yankees the coaches were not in the batter's box, or not in the coaching box. And halfway down the line, and Pete Walker from the Blue Jays was so pissed, right? So similarly happened to my son's game. That both coaches were midway between third base and home and first base, and I'm going, guy, you that's like, I mean, I'll give you a foot or two either way. I'm not gonna be like, you gotta stand there. That's where
stand in that box, right?
But let's not bend it to the point where like you're clapping and distracted. You're in the pitcher's way. Like, what kind of bush league shit are we trying to pull off a win? If we can't play baseball straight up, like it's It's like, hey, let's throw sand in the batter's eye, and then we'll throw a fastball. Let's play that game. That's what it feels like sometimes, Because I go at the extent of winning, I feel like people are just taking it to the edge of where are we going, man. I want to win just as bad as everybody else, but I hate watching it at these levels of like controversy and. It just gets silly, and it just all it does is jack people up, fire people up, but then we have nothing to talk about, right?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, that's a whole nother can of worms almost. Is that youth development and the game at that level, because it is so much. I'm 23, and even I work kind of around that. I've seen a lot of that, and it's so much different now than it was, not even 10 years ago when I was playing ball at that level. So it's crazy stuff. But moving on to some more major league talk, we've talked about the Yankees a little bit already, but aside from Aaron Judge and I guess Juan Soto, the rest of the team has not been enjoying the kind of success that those two have. No longer in first place in the AL East. They dropped to second. The Orioles overtook them. 3-7 in their last 10 games, and going further than that, it's been even worse. And I think the tough part is looking through some of their numbers. Aside from Judge and Soto, who are both hitting 300, nobody else is over 260. And I know we talk about a lot of the underlying numbers and things that batting average doesn't always tell the entire story, and that's what some of these advanced analytics are good for. But at a certain point, when you have an entire lineup of people, we'll talk about them later in this episode, spoiler alert, but the White Sox, when you look at a lineup like that where, no one's even hitting above 230, I don't care how many home runs or what your OPS is or whatever, chances are you're not having a lot of success. And I think that's what we're seeing with the New York Yankees right now.
Well, exactly. And when you see, numbers don't lie, it's your report card. And when you do the little things, sometimes, you may have a lower batting average, but if you're moving runners and sacrificing guys over, and that's your job, that 230 might be acceptable if you're doing those type of things, because you're not the guy that's supposed to drive them in. You know what I mean? You're the guy setting up the dude that is supposed to do that. So that's why you go, well, we'll take his glove because we know, and he's a good, tough out, meaning he can put the ball in play, and we're going to hit and run, and we're going to do those things, which are not really topics talked about. But when you talk about those stats, bro, the White Sox, the downfall, would you say two what they're hitting?
I believe that I don't think there's more than one hitter in their lineup. I could be wrong. That was above 230. At least that was the last time I looked. So yeah, we'll talk about that. But yeah, the Yankees are. Yeah. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it ties in what you're saying. 24-63 record or whatever that is.
Yeah,
it's a losing record, and that's a long season already for them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's tough, and I think just to button up the Yankees topic is it's just like you have two generational players in Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, but you're starting to see how it can be an issue when the rest of the lineup is not generational players or not playing to the back of their baseball card or whatever it might be. And I mean, it's like you've got Verdugo and Volpe and Gleyber Torres and DJ LeMahieu.
That's what I was going to say. LeMahieu, remember when he was you couldn't get that guy
absolutely. But the problem is this lineup seemed to go this way over the last couple of years where
he's hitting $180.
The rest of their lineup falls into a slump at seemingly the same time. I think Verdugo's 5 for his last 32, Volpe 6 for his last 37, DJ LeMahieu 4 for his last 23, and I mean June was just let's not sugarcoat it. It was a bad month for the Yankees in June, and obviously part of that is unfortunately the Mets had to go to Citi Field and get the work from the Mets, but that's neither here nor there. But in general, I just don't know. My question for you, I guess, is this, and do you think that version of the Yankees that we saw in June, is that what we can expect the rest of the year, or a mix of somewhat of what we saw earlier in the year where they had the best record in baseball and this one? Like, is it as someone who was in a major league clubhouse, can it fall off that quickly, or is it usually kind of regression to the mean type thing?
I think when you take these cross sections of how they do their last 10 games, obviously 500 to me is a standard where if you're playing 500 baseball, you're taking it. You obviously want to take 2 out of 3 every of the series to win the series.
Yeah.
So if you're shooting for that and you're on a 3-game road stand and you say that's how you evaluate yourself. What do we do good? Teams are making adjustments. The next team's coming in to face you. They're watching these games. Advanced scouts are taking all these reports, putting all this data, putting it into your lap and going, all right, man, we're giving you everything we got here. We're trying to win every single ball game. It's exhausting physically, mentally, and emotionally. It's a long season. So all those variables wrapped into those 10 games, or half a season, the second half of the season, the whole season, postseason, right? It's all about getting hot at the right time. I mean, it is all about that. It's not how you start. Look where the Pirates started. They were the best team in baseball. They were talking to town, right? They're hovering around 500.
Yep.
My hope in this time, we've been talking around here. They were like 40 and 43 or something like that, I think, their current record. So they're hovering around 500. That's what you hope going into the season.
Just tread there. Yeah.
Stay right there, man. And if we can get into this mix where I'm hoping those front offices are losing sleep at night going like, all right, if I give up one more, or do we give up that prospect to get this guy and we can pull that off?
Yeah.
Are we doing that? Is Paul Skeens in the front office going, let's go, baby. I want to put up a championship banner. Let's go. Everybody be here.
Sir.
We're growing it.
Yeah. Hey, I like that. I mean, and that's not to – I'll give a little spoiler, but you'll want to tune into our next episode, our Call to the Bullpen episode, where we answer fan questions every week. But we've got a really good question kind of surrounding that topic, so you'll want to hear that. We'll talk more about that. But anyways, yeah, it's I think you're absolutely right. And I think with the new format, as long as you can hover around and be good enough to get into the playoffs –
it's a new season, bro.
Try and keep it.
So exactly. going 3-7, and repeatedly, no bueno. You're the White Sox. The Yankees, I think they're good enough. They may be just falling into that little mid-season slump, getting towards that All-Star break. They're smelling, we get some time off. Yeah. Your body's hurting, these little aches and ailments. If you're not going to the All-Star game, you're like, man, I'm going to duck out, go somewhere awesome, and rejuvenate for a minute. But yeah, man, it's
all right. Yeah.
There's a lot of
Makes
variables,
sense.
bro. There's a lot of variables, and you got a lot of team dinners because this part of the season I feel like went fast already, just like time does.
It really did.
And then when you're sitting there going like, we're watching games in October, we're gonna be like, yo, where'd the season go? And people are getting all crammed up about like, I can't wait till spring training. You're like, that's the thing people used to get so pissed off about. When I would be like, guys, cheer up. If it was a losing season, I was like, cheer up, guys. Only 6 months till pitchers and catchers report. And they would throw stuff at me, bro, because it was like painful to think about. You're not even through a season, and you're thinking about reporting to camp.
You don't even have a half a year until you got to come back.
Yeah, if you say that in the White Sox team bus, I think you're going to be kicked off the bus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Cheer up, guys.
Great segue to that our one of our final topics here to talk about, because you mentioned their record earlier, 24-36 on the year, and I think it brings up a bigger discussion about the White Sox in general.
63,
24-63, man. The crazy thing about the White Sox to me is it wasn't even 2021, not even 5 years ago. The White Sox won 93 games. And the season before that, the 2020, the pandemic-shortened season, where they went to the playoffs, that was 2 years in a row of them going to the playoffs. I think a lot of people, myself included, were looking at that team. Tim Anderson, Jose Abreu, Eloy Jimenez, Yohan Moncada, who's been injured this year. And then a pretty decent starting rotation with Dylan Cease and Lucas Giolito and Michael. I mean, you had the names went on and on. You're looking at this team like, holy shit, this is a really good ball club and a young ball club that I think, in 1 or 2 years' time, very well might be one of the best teams in baseball. And since then, 2022, they went 81-81, and I think a lot of people were like, all right, a little bit of a down year. Let's see where it goes from here. 2023, they lost 100 games, and now it looks like they're going to do that again. They're in full free fall. Jose Abreu, who won MVP in 2020, he's been DFA'd by the Houston Astros. Tim Anderson, who was the batting champ in 2021, he's been DFA'd by the Miami Marlins. Garrett Crochet, one of their young. I mean, it is nuts. Tim Anderson was the starting shortstop for the USA team in the World Baseball Classic just a year ago. So it's like to see how quickly, the hope, I guess, for the team seemingly fell apart is nuts to me. And I think another interesting thing to point out is you think about the White Sox as an organization, and it wasn't that long ago that '05 they won a World Series, but those 3 playoff series that they won that year, those are the last time since 2000 that they won a playoff series. So, I mean, there's something up with the organization, and I don't know if it's Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner, if he needs to. I don't know what that looks like.
That was my least favorite organization to play for. I love the city.
Interesting.
I did not enjoy that place.
Are you allowed to kind of delve into?
Oh, it was just, I felt like it was just, I'll just say this. If you went and got 2 Advil that day, it was like they were marking it down, and it felt like you were going to use that against you. I'm like,
interesting.
Really? Then why do you have the Advil out? So it just, I made the assistant GM blush because I caught him in a lie. I go, dude, kill me with the truth. You know what I mean? They Rule 5 me that year and whatever, but it was interesting. The transactions was nuts, and I sat down. I was the last cut in camp, and Frank Thomas was sitting with me, which was a pretty crazy moment.
Wow.
They were all like, "Hey, man, we need you." He must have heard something about whatever. I know I got over there because of Ozzie Guillen, because he was with the Marlins.
Yeah.
And I basically told the Marlins they wanted me to go back to the Arizona Fall League after I came through Tommy John and had a 6-2 record with a 3 in the PCL, and they wanted me to go back to Double-A level to get more innings. I go, guy, I just rehabbed Tommy John. I got here. I have just as many, if not more, wins than guys that have been here all year. I said I was hoping, and that was the year 2003. That was when the Marlins went to the World Series. So talk about being in the right place at the right time, but not getting that. I was like, okay. So I basically told Mark Del Piano. Delp called me. I said, Delp, tell them I'm going home. And I knew they were going to be pissed at me for saying that. I was like, no, my arm's good. I'm going home. Well, they took me off the roster, and the White Sox picked me up. But I think because Ozzie Guillen knew me from the Marlins. So
yeah, I
was happy. I went to somewhere I was wanted. But there was a little shadiness, like I said, like the Advil. There's a little shadiness that goes on there. So I don't know. It's just interesting.
It just seems like they're dysfunctional, right? Did you get that sense when you?
I did. I didn't get a good vibe there. It's just something odd. Good people, like I said, clubbies, good teammates. That was never the question. I just felt like there was just some weird thing about the front office vibe there. You know what I mean? Hey, listen, Michael Jordan and the Bulls had a problem with some of the people that were doing that. So, I mean, come on. It's
same owner.
Come on, carbon copy.
I don't know, man. I mean, yeah, it's really interesting to look at, and I think it just also goes to prove it goes to show how short your windows of contention in Major League Baseball are. Where it was not even 5 years ago, like I said, that we were looking at this team like, all right, this is they're looking like they're going to be a perennial contender for years to come. And
they're great players, and they were. 2004, they went. It was a 2004. Oh yeah, they won the World Series.
05, they won the World Series.
That's right, 05. Like I said, great guys. I love Joe Crede. He was awesome. So many of those guys. Konerko, who owned me, by the way. But
really,
I got even.
Great hitter.
Yeah, great hitter.
Mark Burley was on that squad. Is that right?
Burley was unbelievable to watch. If you want to be home in an hour and a half, with his time limits now, he might have had a game done in 45
he had a
minutes.
Sub two.
He would have had a game done in 45 minutes. He wanted to get us in and get us out. It's like,
love it.
Dude, are we there? But yeah, that was probably the only place. I didn't do very well there. It was just too much dissension with all that craziness. But for me, I was kind of checked out. I was like, get me out of here.
Sure.
This is a waste of a year. I just didn't like playing there. Love the city. Love the city. I love Chicago. One of my favorite go-to cities. But it just didn't feel right. The uniform just felt a little crusty. That's why it's tucked in there. It's tucked back.
Well, how about this to kind of end off? Not really ending off on a happy note, but just a crazy statistic. The White Sox have been an organization for 118 years. They've been a major league team. They have made the playoffs 11 times in 118 years. I don't think. I mean, I love to, as a Mets fan, be like, oh my God, my life is miserable as a Mets fan. Mets fans have it the worst. I love to talk about that. Oakland A's fans have they've got their own. But I don't think we talk enough about the misery of Chicago White Sox fans, man. How crazy is that? 11 out of 118 years.
Whatever we're talking about is making Glover even anxious. If you can hear that heavy
I can hear him panting, and he's getting anxious talking about the Sox.
It's like the beginning of "Let the bodies hit the floor, let the bodies hit the floor." Glover is saying, White Sox better pick it up because everybody's hitting the floor. You're tripping over your own expensive beer cups. There's probably where's Glover? Yeah, he's not having it. Whatever we're talking about, it's making him very anxious. And
all right, well, that's probably he's telling us to wrap it up here. We'll wrap this episode up.
Sorry, White Sox fans, you're probably very anxious with all that.
Yeah, you probably wanted us to talk about it even more, I'm sure. Exactly. But we will see you later this week on our next episode. We hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure, if you like the show, to please subscribe. You can do that for free on YouTube if you like to watch us. You can also follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. Again, we are a part of the Believe Podcast Network. You can find us on their website or wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on social media at Mound Visit Pod. Shoot us your questions. We like to answer some of those in the show. And make sure you check out Sweet Hands Sports for all of your batting gloves, golf gloves, hat needs. And use code MoundVisit10 to get 10% off your first purchase today. Grilli, I will see you on the next one.
Good Mound Visit, buddy. See you next time.
Yes, sir.